de-facto.
I'll say kick it off there, Miriam, and
We'll
then
keep going. We'll share screen. Okay. Perfect. Nope. Um, 2 seconds there. So, can people see the presentation nice and clear?
yeah.
Perfect. All righty. So, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're going to go through, I think, what everybody's looking for, which is tips and tricks and what has worked for us. And tonight isn't a prescriptive thing. We're not telling you what to do. We're just telling you what we've tried, what's worked for us, so that you can hit the ground running, basically. So, we are going to go over a quick review of BDS, what it exactly is an apartheid-free zone, our apartheid-free zone pack. So that's where we talk about the tools that we use, how we get organized. Low-hanging watermelons is basically the kind of the early wins and how to get started. And then we're going to detail approaching businesses, signing them up, and then summarize with how we work together. And then there'll be a Q&A at the end. So if you want to ask questions or if you want to type questions into the chat, and then Christina can collect all things like that. So I am going to bring Neil in to give us a rundown of BDS.
Sure. Thanks, Miriam. And I'm sure we're all very familiar with BDS, but we just felt it was good to, and it is good to just kind of keep in touch with the origins of the apartheid free zone and the background of it. So obviously BDS is boycott, divestment, and sanctions, and it's a Palestinian-led anti-racist movement. Um, that is based on a simple principle that Palestinians are entitled to the same rights as the rest of humanity. It's 20 years old now. So it was started in 2005 by 170 Palestinian civil society bodies. You can flip the slide, Miriam. Um, so the three demands of BDS are to end Israel's occupation and the colonization of all Arab lands and dismantling the wall, recognizing the fundamental rights of the Arab Palestinian citizens of Israel to full equality, exactly the same as Jewish Israelis, and respecting and protecting and promoting the rights of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes, wherever those homes may be. And that's one which has kind of fallen off in a lot of areas as well. So it's important and it's good that BDS keep driving that one. So there's three pillars of BDS. You've got the boycott, which is what we're mostly focusing on from an apartheid-free zone perspective at the moment, and that involves withdrawing support from Israel's sporting, cultural, and academic institutions, but most importantly, economically and financially from Israeli companies and from the companies that are engaged in and profiting from the violations of Palestinian human rights. Then we have the divestment. That's more a financial kind of area. So for banks or any bodies that would invest funds, pension funds, investment funds, it's to urge them to withdraw investments and divest from the state of Israel and also from those international companies that are complicit in the Israeli apartheid. And then, of course, there's the sanctions, and that is, I suppose, more geared towards the governments to pressure governments to apply sanctions to Israel, which actually, under international law, they are obliged to do based on the status at the moment. So it's really about It's really about pressuring them to just do what they should be doing already, and also bodies like FIFA, Eurovision, and others to sanction Israel for what it's been doing. And so coming back to the boycott element, and again, as I mentioned, really within the apartheid-free zone context, boycott is really what we're focused on. And when we talk about boycotting, it's really important that we focus our boycotts, right? So the BDS organization has three specific categories of companies that it encourages us to boycott. There are the priority boycott targets, which are the ones at the top there, and we're asked to boycott them completely in all respects. Then we have the pressure targets, where where BDS asks for pressure to be applied on them, to pressure campaigns, online pressure campaigns, targeted events, protests, and stuff like that, and also to boycott them where there is an alternative available. And then you have the organic boycotts, that are not boycotts that BDS called for or started, but started organically throughout the world. And BDS does support those boycotts because of the complicity of those companies in the human rights abuses that Israel is committing. But just to bring it back again, to focus boycotts and why specifically we focus on these targets. The reasons would be, I suppose, first off, cause of their complicity. These companies are highly complicit in the human rights abuses, in the apartheid, in the genocide that's going on, but also they're targets that are chosen because BDS believes there's a chance to win with these targets. There's actually a chance to hurt them to the point that they actually divest from Israel themselves or stop supporting Israel themselves. And there, there are a huge amount of companies that are complicit in Israel's human rights abuse. You have a list as long as your arm. And the problem, and I suppose why we go for focus boycotts, is to stop a situation where you've got one person boycotting this company and another person who knows a different company that's complicit, and they boycott them, but then they don't boycott the first company, and it ends up with everybody doing little bits of boycotts here and there, but not enough specifically focused in one area to make a difference. So that's why we always have to focus on these specific companies. And this list is updated periodically, so you should always check regularly on the BDS website to see which companies we should be boycotting. But when we're going out and we're talking to businesses about apartheid-free zones, it's these companies that we really want us to focus on, and other than that, any Israeli products or services.
Lovely. Thank you, Neil. And now we're going to move on to understanding more of what exactly is an apartheid-free zone and what we're trying to achieve. And Christina is going to go through that with us.
Thanks, Miriam. Yeah, so I'm sure people have read this plenty of times on the BDS website. The Apartheid Free Zone campaign is part of the BDS movement, seeks to foster the creation of progressive intersectional spaces across the world which are free of Israel's genocide, apartheid, and settler colonialism, and which bring together multiple struggles for justice and equality. And there's organizing guides. Can I just go to the next slide, please? I suppose where the confusion comes and where we have sought clarity as well from the BDS committee is that, what makes, how do you start the apartheid free zone process? What are the steps of becoming apartheid free? Does everyone have to boycott all targets before they are apartheid free, or is it in what order? Some people rightly, not rightly, but as in they believe very strongly that all the companies should be fully boycottable before they get to sign up to the apartheid free zone, but that's not the strategy of the apartheid free zone movement. The strategy of the apartheid-free zone campaign is to first declare yourself an apartheid-free zone and then work towards becoming and divesting from all of these targets. So you declare yourself first. So a business or a space declare themselves first an apartheid-free zone. It is a commitment to becoming apartheid-free and from divesting from Israeli and products and BDS targets. So I think that is one of the main things to kind of clear up, I suppose, is that the process begins with the signing up to become a apartheid-free zone. I think some of us have thought we have to do all of this work and make sure a business is completely divested before they get to sign up, but we have no process of verification. We've no way to go into these businesses and check all of their services or any of the products that we use. It is based on trust and a commitment and the assumption that if they're signing up, then they're going to commit to doing what it says that they should do. So if you just go to the next slide, please. So yes, as I said, the journey to becoming an apartheid-free zone begins with committing to become an apartheid-free zone. Publicly declare the intention to become an apartheid-free zone, pledge to end complicity with the Israeli state institution and corporations involved in human rights violations, take action to become an apartheid-free zone, cut ties with BDS priority targets, and divest from companies identified by UN and civil society groups as complicit, continue the journey of justice. Now, we did ask, and people will cover this, I think, later on as well. We did ask Omar Barghouti when he was here about what to use, and he did say to verify, and he did, or what are the tools we should use, and it was the BDS website itself, the targets that are on the priority list rather than the apps. But I think Neil will speak a little bit more about that in a second. Can we just move on a little bit? Thank you.
Oops. All right.
So the types of apartheid-free zones are academic and cultural, local business, sports, social, local government, trade union. We have gotten two of our local councils here in Cork, the Cork County Council and the City Council declared themselves apartheid-free zones. And we are currently working on, as a campaign, we're working on local businesses. So it is, that's what we're focused on right now, rather than trying to do all of them, because we have to build up capacity of our group. I'm sure people will understand from 2 years of doing action, some longer, 20 years, that it takes a long time to do one thing. Don't mind, say, trying to cover every single aspect of this. So in Cork, we really decided to focus on this one part of the apartheid-free zone, which is the local businesses. And we're very disciplined with that. We don't try to get into the social or cultural boycotts. There are other groups who can take care of those areas. We feel our strength is to focus on local businesses, and then over time we hopefully will build capacity and work towards doing others, or they might come on board when the environment is created, an apartheid-free zone environment and culture is created in Cork. So we'll take questions then at the end about all of that, but that's my part, I think. So I'll hand back.
Thank you. So I'm going to go through the pack, which is essentially the tools that we have put together to make this run as smoothly as possible for us. So the organizational tools that we have is because, like Christina said, in Cork, we have a lot of things kind of going at the same time and capacity can be limited. Organization is really important. So we have a dedicated WhatsApp group. You may not need that if it's just, one person working in one locality. But as soon as multiple people are involved, it's always good to have somewhere to touch base so that there's no miscommunications. We also have a spreadsheet to list all of the businesses that we are working with. And then we have the apartheid free zone pack that I'll go into in a second. So I'm going to bring Soph in because this is their forte. Soph there.
Yep,
Hey.
hello. So yeah, this is something like the spreadsheet that we use to keep track of the businesses that we're approaching in Cork. I think Chris is going to post a template one into the chat as well there for you to see. But yours, like depending on who's in a group in a specific area, or if it's one person on their own, you may not need the same level of details as ours. But because there's lots of people working on it in Cork, it can be good to have like notes about like they were approached this day or by who, how many times. Um, yeah, so it's good. Helpful to see like, oh, one person has already gone to that cafe that I was thinking of, so I don't need to double up on that or anything. Um, so the most important thing about the spreadsheet is that it's uh, kept updated. I'm the only person who's like, it's my responsibility in the Cork thing, in the Cork group, and it's quite helpful to just have one person who's the point of contact for it. It prevents things from slipping through the cracks. It means you don't have to kind of check with multiple people for answers about things, or say like, has this business definitely been signed up to the official apartheid free website that where we put their details? That ultimately, like that question is for me. You don't have to check with multiple people. Um, so yeah, that's helpful. And then that person is also, in our case anyway, responsible for keeping all of the forms that we collect on file as well, so that we don't have to be again tracing multiple people for forms. Um, it's good for the person who's responsible to proactively check the spreadsheet, just in case there's ever like a box missing or you notice that a new business was filled in, but that person hasn't sent you the official sign up form. So that means that I wouldn't have actually put it into the official website yet. Um, yeah, and it's definitely a good role for someone who might have like limited capacity if you've lots of other responsibilities or a busy job or something, or someone you don't feel you're someone who would be comfortable or able to go out and be speaking to businesses about signing up. Um, it can be helpful then if you're the person who's just doing all the admin of actually signing them up on the official apartheid free website and keeping track of the spreadsheet. So yeah, I think that is all there is to say right now about the spreadsheet. I'll hand back to Miriam.
Lovely. Thank you. So what is in the AFC pack? So we've put together packs that have all of the things that we need to go and speak to the businesses so that we're not kind of going one day and like, oh, I've forgotten this. You know, you just have everything with you, and there's enough stuff in there to approach multiple businesses. So it just kind of streamlines things for people. So the information leaflet, and like we said before, Christina's going to give you templates that do not have our logo, so you can start using these as well. This is really important because it lets them know exactly what getting involved with the apartheid free zone means. It will use the right kind of language. So it doesn't say we do this or we do that. It will say you. So it kind of gets them feeling like they're already part of it. Um, the focus as well, if you look here, it says BDS boycott app. And as Neil said, the advice from Omar Barghouti and the BDS campaign is to use the BDS website and to use the priority targets. So if you're using the app, and the apps are very useful because you can just scan things, you can have different tiers of boycotting. So you can set it to the priority targets, or you can set it to, you know, more catch-alls where it will flag companies that are also linked. So if you are going to be advising people to use the app, you can always tell them also that to make sure that they just take priority targets so that we're sticking to the principles of BDS. Um, and then that would be the front of it, back of it, and as well, this is really important because again, people will be confused. What do I have to do? What's involved? This literally just gives you step one, step two, step three, all the way to seven of what do I need to do to become an apartheid-free zone. And it will have contact details here so that people can touch base with you. If you, for example, need to leave leaflets and come back and do a second meeting with them, or if the manager wasn't there, if the owner wasn't there. So it gives you the opportunity to, have that connection with the business. This is the sign up form. So I'd say this for us is probably one of the most important things and where our successes are, because this makes life very easy for the business because it lets us do a lot of the admin for them. You don't have to have this stored as a hard copy. What we do is whoever signs up a business will fill out the details and will take a photo and send the photo to Soph. And then that is kept in a folder. So you can keep them as a hard copy or you can keep them as a soft copy, whatever works for you. It's just the importance of having essentially the apartheid free zone portal in a paper format so that it makes life easier. And then these here, I wouldn't get too bogged down. You can use those if you want, that kind of admin zone there, but you don't have to. There we go. And then the next part of the apartheid free zone pack is the Coca-Cola alternatives because we're, talking to local businesses, and so many of those are going to be selling Coke. So I'm going to bring Sarah in because this is her baby.
Well, yeah, so I suppose the Coca-Cola company owns Coca-Cola and Fanta, Sprite, Schweppes, Appletizer, fruit juice, and Deep River Rock. So I suppose really what I wanted to do was just pick one or two alternatives and then get on to companies and find out where they're, just make it as easy as possible for people to order them or get in touch with them. So Anta Foods took a good while to get in touch with. People were calling the number for ages. I did speak, I know this like the Palestine cola actually is better quality apparently to the Gaza cola. It's of better quality. It is more expensive, but I spoke with Iz and a man from Iz Cafe, and they were saying that, they tried the Gaza Cola, but they preferred the other one. They were able to help me get on to Anta Foods and just, so I spoke with Anta Foods on and off for a while, and they are hoping to get a warehouse in Munster area to cover so that we don't have to order it. The other company I picked was sorry, no, my thing is frozen. Yeah, so the other place I picked then was the Independent Irish Health Foods, and I spoke with them, and rather than getting price lists and stuff, I just got details of how best they can sign up, basically. So yeah, that's really it. I mean, look, there, as Omar Baguti said, Miriam and myself were kind of looking at Club Orange because Club Orange is on the boycott list, but it's not on the no thanks. And he was saying they don't endorse no thanks, they do endorse boycott, but just the priority list. So really, I would be saying, yes, go with the organic, go with as much as you can, but I suppose if it's on the list, if it's endorsed by the BDS, then National Committee, go with them. But yeah, so I think that's it. And the details are there for, it's mostly kind of cafes we were kind of hoping to bring this into. So yeah, and one cafe that signed up actually said that they knew about this and that they have no Coca-Cola products. So yeah, so
Lovely.
yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. Christina's also going to create a link or somewhere where people can share alternatives that maybe they have found, because these documents and the next one I'm going to talk about, they are works in progress. We're always updating them if there's new information and things like that. So it'd be great to hear, if there's any alternatives that other people have found, and we can like help each other to just kind of keep this moving. Um, I've put together the general alternatives sheet, and this is going to be in the documents that Christina sends everybody. This is just kind of a more general version, whereas the Coca-Cola one is geared towards, like pubs and cafes and things like that. This is just for different businesses, and it goes over a few of the other, there's 3 sheets, goes over a few of the other companies that are on the BDS priority list. So how I put this together, a lot of this information here. So obviously the list is from the BDS campaign, and then the info, a lot of it is from the apps. So the Boycat app and the No Thanks app. I looked at both of them, I suppose, just for completeness sake. And they will tell you why those companies are complicit, what it is that has been found about them. This information is also available on the BDS website. And I've also just searched them up online to kind of double check things. And then alternatives. Some alternatives are offered by the apps, but also I just looked up kind of more at like local businesses, especially here, and just things that I've seen in town, and then looked them up online, searched, their Wikipedia pages, look at what their parent companies are, look at where they invest and things like that. And as I said before, these are works in progress. You're always updating them. Like, for example, you can't really see it here, but on the second page, I used to have Samsung here, but obviously with what Samsung is up to currently, I've taken it off the list. And that's just like one example. Um, was I going to mention anything else? Nope, that's it.
I'll
Uh,
say
oh
the
yeah.
reason that you put this together is because the when you're going to businesses and they're asking, oh, but what are the alternatives? So this is like a suggestion for them to, again, we're trying to give them as much information as possible to make the transition.
Yeah, and like the businesses that I have picked to approach are the halal food shops. So obviously they're going to have different businesses that they might work with compared to a cafe. So for example, if they have vans, I've put Texaco in there. They're using insurance and things like that. So that's why I've included different to just Coca-Cola. So you can, depending on your capacity and how much you want to kind of put into it, you can tailor it to the different businesses that you want to approach. So these are our little kind of BDS cards. This is the older version. And like we said before, always keep an eye on the BDS website because they do update it. So currently Tiva is now in here, and Zara, I believe, is in here somewhere as well. So yeah, Tiva's been moved from here to here. So we have new ones coming up, which I believe is what's been linked. I think you have the newer one in the linked document. There we go. Christina has it. Um, voila. So we've got the front and the back, and these are really, really handy to have like a good few in the pack so that if you're going to a business and they're not so sure, it's a really good way to kind of gauge, how okay they are if they'll let you leave these, for example. And even if somebody doesn't sign up, they might let you leave, a load of these on their counter or in the business. And it's nice as well to have just in your bag or in your pocket when you're going about town. You might just pop into a random business and just have a chat with them. And if they're willing to let you leave these cards, then you might think, do you know what, this might be a good business to approach going forward about the apartheid free zone. So it's a good, in to kind of give them a taster and just kind of test the waters and see where they're at. Um, anything else you wanted to add, Christina?
I just think that we've had a lot when we go out in our BDS stall very frequently. These are really, people take these really easily. Like they'll t take these easier than a flyer, and they are just really handy visual guide. As like they're like, okay, I'll boycott that. And a lot of time people don't want any more information, just like this on a, so it is, yeah, I found these really, really helpful in general, not just with the apartheid free zone as well.
Perfect. And then the lovely pretty poster. So if a business agrees to sign up, then the very last thing that we do with them is we take a photo outside the premises with, the owner or staff or whatever, ideally the owner, holding this. And this is not it's not official. This is one that we've made ourselves. And the reason why we've made it is because it's a really nice visual. It's great for social media. It's just to get the image out there. And we've gotten so many sign-ups from social media. So businesses that we haven't actually gone and spoken to, they've just seen other businesses posted with this on social media, and then that has got them interested. They've looked up the stuff themselves, and then they have come to us and said, we're really interested. Can you sign us up? What do we need to do? So it's just a really good, essentially, advertisement for the apartheid free zone campaign. And then it's really affirming. So we've got, the language here that we've chosen is we have committed to removing all products and services that contribute to Israeli apartheid. So it's really good, like strong language. And it's we leave it with them. It's not just like for the photo. They take the photo, but they keep the poster and they, put it somewhere in the business that's prominent. So then people see it, and it's just about getting the idea of BDS, apartheid free, out there to the general public as well. So moving on to low-hanging watermelons and how to get your first wins. I'm going to bring Christina in, and she's going to talk us through this.
Cool. So I guess there's one of these that works the best for us now, but there are several approaches that we kind of devised. So one is location, the other is type, and the other is general. So location is a particular place. So obviously Cork City is a particular place, but within Cork City there's particular streets. And you might decide, okay, I'm going to work on this one street, like Oliver Plunkett Street, and I'm just going to hammer at the businesses here until I have this and go street by street. So that is one approach. Second is type. So it could be specific. So obviously people can see from the different fundraisers and etc. online, cafes, restaurants, but it's particularly cafes have been particularly strong and coming on board as businesses to like do fundraisers, take leaflets, hang merch, do just in general. And we've seen also ourselves from the sign-ups that cafes are really leading. And they've been, a man from Is Cafe did Coffee for Palestine. That was their initiative. And they raised 50,000 the first go. And coffee shops really got involved. Then they did Plate for Palestine, which was the restaurants. So when we kind of saw that initiative happening, and we decided, well, we have a list here of like pro-Palestinian cafes in Cork. It's a ready-made. We don't even have to really go looking. We can just go on the website, find the cafes, and approach them one by one. Then we have general approach. So I guess also type could be like I'm just going to focus on supermarkets, or I'm going to focus on restaurants, or I'm going to focus on whatever type of business it is. Then the general approach, which is what the one really kind of we really take, is for now, we call it the low-hanging watermelons. And it's like any business that have shown some sign of pro-Palestine outlook. So flags, leaflets. We know that they're at marches or we know them personally, or there's some connection. But usually it's like if we're around town, we'll see a flag, we'll take a picture, and be like, oh, this person, there's some movement here in this business. Let's put them on the list. Let's approach them. So we I guess we take different. We do take a mix of these things, but I'd say type and general are the most the approaches that we really use. Next, please. So an example again, like you might say, what's my overall target? Cork City, make Cork City apartheid free zone, but you have to break it up into achievable zones. So let's approach it street by street. I pick Oliver Plunkett Street, McCurtain Street, whichever, and then so I do that, and then once I've that done, I move on to the next one. So that would be a location-based strategy. The type, again, as I said, is overall business would be food businesses. And so I would approach each business at a time, probably starting with the ones that have shown like a pro-Palestinian outlook, because those are the easiest wins. And then, as I say, keep approaching them one by one until you run out. Next, again, the general approach, small independent businesses, let's approach those who have taken a pro-Palestine stance and approach them one by one and record your progress. So I guess we've found these people, they've found these businesses in different ways. As I said, there's a flag outside the business. We see that they've done a fundraiser. It might be a conversation. We put a call out at the rally one time, like twice, and we got 6 sign-ups at one rally. There's business owners in the campaign. So it's really, we put it in the newsletter, we put it online. So it's if we do a call out, but we also approach, we're actively approaching the people that we see. So as you can see, it's 71 in Cork. That's all of ours. All of those 71 are ours. None of those are Waterford's. No, I'm joking. But yeah, we went from 29 to 52 in the space of like 2 months, 2 or 3 months. It took us a long time to put the materials together. You know, the forms, the information, to come up with a strategy, to agree it, to figure it out. So we have seen this replicated as well around the country, around the county, and yeah, some people are here from our county groups, below in Clonakilty, for instance, in Ballincollig. They have been doing this and just getting people on board. Next slide, please. So I'll just, I guess sum up is, it's I guess it's self-evident enough. You know, it's not rocket science, but we find that, and we'll talk about this a bit later on when we'll talk about the social media posts, but you create more demand when you advertise. So that's, and I'll speak a little bit more on that, but once you get someone on board and you advertise their status, it encourages more to come on board. And so we haven't run out so far of like the low-hanging watermelons, like the easy targets, because they keep they come forward, or there's a flag put up somewhere, or there's a fundraiser. So now that's in Cork. It's a bigger place than a lot of the towns. But so that will be when we find out how the county groups get on. That will be information for us and for county and for smaller places to kind of be like, okay, the city one worked, but maybe this one is how we had to adapt it for a smaller place. So we haven't developed yet. I know someone was asking in the chat there about like kind of further along, you know, how do you check up? We haven't developed yet a strategy for dealing with the more difficult targets, we'll say. How do you get those on board? We are focused right now on getting as many businesses who will be sort of easy or not have a high level of effort to get on board, because the thought is that if you get all of those people on board, you create a culture and you create like an apartheid-free zone movement, so that it maybe puts pressure on the people who are a bit hesitant to sign up, or encourages maybe a bit more positive language. But yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I realized as well, I forgot to mention about the apartheid free zone info leaflet. We actually had it reviewed by business owners to make sure that the language is quite clear. So that's another plus for it. And you just reminded me, Christina, when you were saying the amount of effort that we've put into all of these tools. Um, so that's a plus to know that like it will be nice and easy for people to understand what's on that page. I'm going to bring Neil back in and he's going to go through essentially what it's like when you're going in there and approaching the businesses.
Sure. Thanks, Miriam. So when you're approaching businesses, first thing you're going to want to do is, I guess, be prepared, right? You need to think about the type of business you're approaching. And you need to think about that because you kind of, I suppose, want to give a bit of consideration to what that means for them, right? So for maybe a coffee shop, it means they might have to take out some of the Coca-Cola products. If they're a pharmacy, it means they might have to stop dispatching Teva products, except when they don't have a choice. So that'll just kind of have you prepared a bit for what you're going to say. Then you want to think about what your pitch is going to be, right? So what are you actually going to say when you go in there? How are you going to introduce the concept, and how are you going to try and get them on board? You need to think about the timing. When is the decision maker most likely to be there, and also when are they most likely to have time for you? So let's say if you're pitching for a cafe, and it's lunchtime on a Friday in a business district, and loads of people are in trying to get sandwiches, that's a terrible time. So just have some consideration for when's a good time for me to go in. When you actually comes to the visit, make sure you have your pack ready with all of the materials that Miriam went through a moment ago. And then when you go in there, you're looking to speak to the manager or the owner, the decision maker, basically. If they're not present, try and see if there's another way you can get to them. So maybe the staff member will be prepared to share contact details, an email or phone number. Alternatively, you could ask, is there another time when they'll be in the shop that I can call in? And you can also leave maybe one of the information leaflets, write your name and number. That's what I like to do as well, and when they're not there, so they can take a read of it and call if they have any questions. You might have to do a combination of these as well, or all three, to get in touch. If the manager is there, then you're pitching. So first off, be respectful and be considerate of what you're asking them to do, right? You are asking a bit more than you might be, say, if you're handing someone a leaflet on the street and asking them to boycott McDonald's, because that's just a personal thing, behavior they can change. But for businesses, we are asking them to go that extra step and kind of publicly display within their business that they're supporting and becoming an apartheid-free zone. So introduce yourself, introduce the group that you're a member of, maybe with a brief introduction of what your group does, and then introduce the apartheid-free zones concept itself. You'll probably want to go into a little bit of what it means in practice, and maybe talk a little bit, I suppose, about the fact that it is a journey, and you use some specific brands, maybe, or examples, to help you along to illustrate what it would mean for them, right? So, I mean, if I go into a business tomorrow, I'm going to say, good morning. My name is Neil. I'm a member of the Cork Solidarity, or the Cork Palestine Solidarity Campaign. We're a group of people who advocate for freedom for the people of Palestine and an end to the abuses that Israel is perpetuating. And at the moment, we're working to support businesses in Cork in becoming apartheid-free zones. And then at this point, I'll probably hand him the flyer that Miriam has with the the explanation of the apartheid-free zones, and I'll give a short kind of, I suppose, um, description of what that means, what an apartheid-free zone means, and ultimately, I'll state that you're committing to uh, not support the Israeli abuses against Palestinians, and we do that by withdrawing any support from Israel itself, and also not supporting the business that profit and contribute to the crimes that are being committed at the moment. So at that point, then, I'll share maybe the card that has the list of businesses, so the wallet card, and that's a really, as Miriam said, it's a really good visual, and Christina noted that as well. It's a really good place where they can see exactly what brands are impacted, and that are targeted there. So you'll see businesses kind of looking, or business owners kind of scanning that as you're talking to them, and kind of doing the maths in their head of what does this mean to me, you know? So at that point, maybe it's good then to use some specific examples just to explain to them, or help them understand what being an apartheid-free zone means, and the fact that it is a journey. So it could be, okay, so if it's Coca-Cola, if it's a cafe, it means, swapping out your Coca-Cola products for these alternatives. Um, another good example is like HP and Dell. Maybe you use a HP laptop or a Dell laptop with Intel, and that's fine if you have one and that you're using now. You're not helping anyone by getting rid of it, but you would just use it to its end of life. And then when it comes to its end of life, you'd buy a different brand. And the same, very similar for businesses like AXA, where maybe you have AXA, maybe they're the insurer that you use. You renewed a few months ago. You've got another 6 months on the policy. So when it comes time to renew that, then you would just look around and see if there are other insurers that you can get, and that's just to help, just to help them kind of understand exactly what the being an apartheid-free zone means. You may not have to go into that level. You may not. You may get just hand them the card. You may even have just handed them the card. Some businesses are like, "Yep, sign me up straight away." Right? So it really depends on a person-to-person basis, and the level of comfort in with the person you're speaking to. But it's really important to use those materials, use your flyers, use the boycott card, because that really helps them understand who the targets are, what it means to them, and helps them get their head around what it means to be an apartheid-free zone. Um, so you may have to visit multiple times. Um, as I said, maybe the manager isn't in. Sometimes the manager or the owner is in, but maybe they need a little bit of time to think about it. Maybe they'd like to read the form a little more. Maybe they just like to consider it a bit, or talk to some people. So you might have to call back. Um, but once you get to the point of success, if they're happy to do it, there's just a case of getting them to fill out the form, or you can fill out the form there with them. And then with us, what we do once they've filled out the form is we'll present them with the poster. Obviously, that's something that's specific to CPSC. That we've developed, and we'll always ask them to take that picture with the poster outside of the premises, and we'll use that then to promote the fact that they've become an apartheid-free zone on social media. Um, yeah, I mean, that's it. The other thing, again, as Miriam mentioned as well, is leaving those materials in the shop or in the premises as well. That's an extra bonus. If they're happy to be an apartheid-free zone, they will definitely be happy to stock those cards, have them by the till, or have them in some location where they're prominent. And that's really powerful, because that means that, it's not, it's not just us out on the street trying to hand things out. It actually means that people can self-serve and get that information themselves in all of these different locations. And the other thing to mention is, even when even if a business is not happy, there's a lot of businesses that maybe they're not happy to sign up and actually declare an apartheid-free zone, but they are still they are still supportive of the cause, and they might be prepared to have those cards in their shop even if they don't want to sign up. And so some of the common challenges that we see when trying to sign up businesses, obviously time is a big one. Getting the right time where the business is not busy, getting the right time where the manager is actually there, and simply the fact that business people by their nature are often very busy anyway. So and again that kind of that goes back to what I was saying about, maybe needing to call in a second or third time. As a few businesses I've been into 3 or 4 times, and it can take a few times. So it's just a case of being persistent, and but also being considerate of the business time. And then there's the concern around suppliers. Especially when you're moving from the likes of Coca-Cola to some of the smaller, more alternative brands. Um, uh, businesses might be concerned about reliability and having reliable supply and maintaining stock levels. So that's where it's helpful as well to have a lot of alternative brands to offer them. So capacity again is it can be a challenge as well. So getting prices for alternatives is a great way to help or to help businesses make decisions. Um, Irish owned is another great way to kind of pitch and help businesses as well to sort of change out stock because it's a selling point. So if there are any alternatives that are Irish owned, I think for a business it's a good thing. It's a good way for them to sell themselves and sell their business to the wider community that they're stocking and providing Irish produce. And then another challenge there is franchises. So again, just to keep in mind that the likes of Spar, Centra, Gala, a lot of these franchises, they usually are tied into specific business products and don't have a lot of freedom. We generally keep clear of any of those type of franchises, so we're focused on small independent businesses as much as possible. And fridges is another one as well to be aware of. A lot of businesses will have Coca-Cola fridges. They may have contracts to have Coca-Cola fridges for a certain amount of time. There might be challenges with removing these, and they'll need to get new fridges. So again, you need to be aware of that. And that shouldn't any of these things, like when a customer or a business having a Coca-Cola fridge, that shouldn't be a barrier of entry either. We should always consider and try and consider a business the fact that it's a journey to become an AFZ, and that a business, the first step is committing to become an apartheid free zone. So the Coca-Cola fridge is a good example, but there are plenty of another good example would be, if a business is with AXA and actually there's nobody else that will insure them except if it costs 3 times as much, but they're prepared to swap out all their Coca-Cola for Palestine Cola. In that case, they sh they should be commit to becoming an apartheid free zone and do the Coca-Cola thing, and that's them doing what they can, right? The AXA one might be out of their hands because it might put them out of business and therefore they can't do it. But where they can show the solidarity and doing what they can and where it doesn't damage their business, then that's enough for them to be an apartheid free zone.
Brilliant. Thank you, Neil. I just want to shout out as well to Joanne, who gave me all of these tips when I was putting the presentation together. one of the benefits for working in the Cork group is that we've so many people that are going out, and so you get a lot of information from lots of different people, and we all learn from each other. I'm going to bring Soph in to talk about the actual signing up process of the businesses. So once the business has said, yay, and they have signed on the dotted line, what happens going from there?
Yeah. So yeah, once they've filled out the form that we've given them, which can take multiple visits, then we take the information from that form and fill it into the Apartheid Free Zone official portal online, and then mark that in the spreadsheet that I would keep track of that I have filled it in. That is so that we can always keep track of which ones we have definitely signed up, as we don't have direct access to the database like immediately, the most updated version all the time. We have to request that. So once that, yeah,
Sorry,
once they've signed
I
up,
skipped a slide. Sorry there, Soph.
perfect, thank you.
There we
So yeah, the person who is collecting that form from them, the filled in form, they take a photo with the business owner or manager outside of the business so that we can use that to advertise the apartheid free zone concept, and say that like say this business is part of that, and it gives them free publicity as well. And then they also take a photo of that form and send it to the admin person, in that case myself, so that I can put it into the online portal so that we can keep track of all of the businesses that are signed up, and make sure that the spreadsheet is updated, and save a photo of that physical form in a dedicated folder in case we ever need to come back to it. Good, thank you. So yes, the portal that I've been referencing is on the apartheidfree.ie website. So I would sign up the business there. It's like the business name, the owner's name, their email, everything that is on the physical form that we've given them. And then only after I've put it into that portal, I update the spreadsheet just to say that I've done that. As I've found that portal can be like a bit glitchy, and you need to captcha to submit the form. Sometimes there's like an error or something. And like I said, we don't have immediate access to the full list that's managed. We have to request that. So I just like to be really sure that we've definitely input all the details correctly, and then update the spreadsheet so you know it's all been done. So yeah, I think that's everything from me.
Perfect. And that's just another view of the spreadsheet so that as a reminder. I also want to kind of hammer the point home that like that form, that sign up form is one of the reasons for our successes and going, that big jump in the number of businesses that have signed up, because it stops us from having to like harass businesses, for want of a better word, and keep chasing them up. Oh, have you signed up on the portal? Because we don't have access to it, like Soph said. So we don't know. Like someone could have said to us on Monday, yeah, absolutely, I'll sign up to the apartheid free zone. But then their business, they're busy, they've got invoices coming in, they've got, people coming in, and so they may forget to do it, and then you're constantly going back, oh, have you done it? Have you done it? And that gets really annoying, for a business. So when we go in and as soon as they kind of say yes to us, they fill out that form. We try to get, like I said, the photo done if possible, considering the weather and it's getting so dark. Sometimes you have to come back another day so that we can get the best photo possible. But having that form signed means that we can just send everything to Soph, and then that all gets done for the business. And it's just about reducing that barrier to entry. It's about making things as easy as possible for them so that they've as few excuses to, or reasons, not excuses, reasons to kind of say, oh no, I don't know, can I do it? Can I not do it? The other reason why it's important, and I think I'm circling back again, that we have one person doing this is because it's less likely that things are going to fall between the cracks or things are going to get missed. So Soph is our person of contact. It's like, okay, is this business signed up? Who, are we sure? Are we not sure? Ask Soph, and then we'll know. And yeah, it just again to hammer the point home about communication. For a campaign like this where you're approaching businesses, you have to, you have to look, I suppose, put together and organized. And where you fall down is going to be your communication. So if you go in one day to a business and you don't communicate that with somebody else, and then another person goes and repeats the exact same thing that you've done, then it might actually jeopardize a business, having an open enough mind to look at the materials and sign up and then continue the process. Okay. So to summarize everything, I'm going to just do a run through of start to finish what it is that we do with businesses. So a business is chosen, they're approached, and the spreadsheet is updated. The business is gives their commitment to becoming an apartheid-free zone. They give their consent. So that's really important as well with GDPR and all of that. If you remember, at the bottom of the sign up form, we have an area for people to tick that they're happy for the photo to be taken and used on social media. So if you do not have that ticked, you technically cannot post that on social media. So really important to double check that that's done. Once that photo has been done and the form has been signed, sorry, and then you update it onto the either WhatsApp or the spreadsheet. They sign up. The form is then sent to your dedicated admin person and you store it appropriately. The business details are registered on the Apartheid Free Zone portal. And like I said, it can be glitchy. So another reason why to take that away from businesses having to do it is it can be frustrating for them if it's acting up. So we deal with that. The spreadsheet is then updated again. The photo of the business owner is posted on social media and tagged, and finally the spreadsheet is updated. I know it kind of sounds really repetitive, but again, it's just to highlight the importance of communicate. Everybody needs to know, especially if you've got if it's just you on your own doing your local town, that's one thing. You're going to know what you've done. But as your group gets bigger, communication is really important, and the having something concrete to touch base with, we found is crucial for that. These are some of our lovely businesses that have signed up in Cork. I love these photos. So because a lot of us are involved in so many things, we will kind of assign different people to different things. And like I said, that may not be feasible for you, but delegating tasks is, really important to making sure that people don't burn out or feel overwhelmed. And then another tip is we try not to post all of the, photos at once, because sometimes you get really lucky and you might have a week or two where you're getting loads of wins and you get like a bank of really good images. So if you post everything all at once, with the way that like social media algorithms are, you get a spike and then, it's a dip, whereas it's much more effective if you're posting regularly. So while we may have gotten, let's say, 4 or 5 signups in one week, we won't necessarily post them all that week on social media. We'll post a couple and we'll keep a few, so that if you're going through a slightly quieter patch, because like Neil was saying, sometimes businesses will take multiple visits. They might be unsure, sometimes business owners will have multiple premises. So they might take a little bit longer to convince. So having that bank is really, really handy, so that even when you're going through a quieter period of time where you may not be getting the wins that you want, it still looks like it. And then the social media photos, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but they have been really, really important, because we have gotten so many signups just from people seeing things on social media and going, oh, that's really interesting, looking into it, and then getting in touch with us. And some more lovely practices. Sorry, I'm a dentist, so everything is sideways. Businesses. All righty. Q&As. Hopefully that was clear for everybody. I'm going to stop sharing. Well, actually, no, before I stop sharing my screen, I'm going to share our email. So if anybody has or wants to contact us, you can take a photo of that or screenshot of that. And that's how you can get through to us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can actually see everybody, and we will get chatting. Is that stopped sharing?
Yeah. Emma?
Hey.
Hey, well done and thanks for that. It's really informative and I'm looking forward to getting stuck in with the tools. I'm just wondering, we're starting out in Kildare and we're picking like a small town that's kind of been relatively pro-Palestinian. And I was thinking of getting in touch with the local business. You know, the local businesses have like one little committee. And I was thinking of going that approach to try get in there with the committee and then filter out to the businesses. Or have you any experience in that? Or do you think it's better going to the businesses first themselves to try get a few on board?
I can take that. I think that it's good to develop that relationship, but if they have that conversation at the meeting and it's a no, then that's very difficult then to like fight against when I don't know. We had a similar situation here in Cork on the Cork Business Association. We had like a really pro-Palestinian member, and they'd find it difficult as a business person trying to convince this organization, because generally those organizations can be quite conservative. It might be different in your context, but if it was myself, I would at least try and get a few on board that there is like a precedent set, because if you approach them and they say no, now you've discouraged
yourself.
It's more, I think the answer to this is like a more grassroots thing where it's like same as in Cork, right? We're not going after the big fish yet. And you know yourself from being at meetings, like in the last 2 years, if you have one voice that doesn't want to do something, it dominates. So it's better to get people on your side, I would say. And I think other people agree? I think the rest of
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Suzanne? Thanks.
Yes, hi. First of all, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. I'm totally gobsmacked. I knew this was a big thing, but now I know it's an even bigger thing. But quickly, my question, it's kind of a devil's advocate question, so don't, yeah, it's not meant in any bad way. So from a consumer point of view, if I see a business that has the sign in the window, that really just means that they've signed up, and I cannot tell how far they've gone in their process. So if I decide, oh, I see the sign, and then I walk in and see the Coca-Cola fridge, that shouldn't put me off.
Exactly.
Yeah, have I understood that rightly?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So if we ever get that discussion during our demos or whatever, then I can say, okay, this means they signed up, they have the goodwill, they made the pledge, but it can take, obviously not, they're not going to throw out their existing stock and gadgets, but they have made the pledge to make changes in the future.
Yeah. I think also you may have a business who will never get rid of that one product.
Yeah, exactly.
We did ask Omar that question, and it's like it's not about being 100%. It's about as going far as you can. The problem with something like Coca-Cola, these other products, that they're so visible. So it's like, so it's a good thing to put pressure to say, oh, you still have Coca-Cola. It's good as a consumer.
Yeah.
That's the role you can play as a consumer is to, and I would encourage other people to say, oh, you still have Coca-Cola and you're apartheid free. Or no, I think that's appropriate. But yes, you're correct. Like it's a journey, and you might not be able to make that decision for 5 years with your insurance or the product or whatever it is.
Okay, so on the one hand, there is the demand for pressure. We keep pressuring ourselves as well. Like, don't buy this product, even though it's my main craving. But at the same time, it's kind of more forgiving than I thought it was, maybe.
It is very.
If it's not possible to exchange something, then live with it. Yeah?
Yeah, definitely they don't it's not to throw out the tech that you currently have, for instance. You use the tech, and then the next decision when you have to purchase again, you would make a different purchase. It is very forgiving. It's a low bar of entry. That's why it begins with signing up. It doesn't begin with an assessment and us going in and making sure it's 100% clear. That's not enough for a lot of people. Some people want it to be, no, it has to be 100%, and I would be a bit more strict if it was up to me, but it's not, so we follow what the BDS committee think. And I think it will develop. I think over time, then people will get more strict as it goes on, so yeah.
I'd also like to point out, just in regards to you mentioning the Coca-Cola fridge, I know a couple of the halal shops that I went into, the first thing I saw was the Coca-Cola fridge, and I remember thinking, oh God, but there was actually no Coca-Cola products in the fridge. So, like we mentioned before, sometimes Coca-Cola will do a deal with them where they might provide the fridge, and then do they lease it out to them, or if they buy an X amount of Coca-Cola products, so they then eventually own the fridge, or whatever the setup may be. Having a Coca-Cola fridge, I wouldn't let that put you off if you were approaching a business. There may not actually be anything in there that's Coca-Cola as well.
Yeah.
Can I say something actually on, would that be okay?
Yeah.
I thought Suzanne's question was brilliant. Yeah, like today now I was in one business and they did sign up, but they had signed a contract with Coca-Cola for the next 5 years, and they're only 18 months into the contract. So he wasn't going to sign up because, well, number one, in Clonakilty, they'd want to be 100% before signing up, but they agree it's a journey. But he said if it's okay to stock an alternative, he is 100% up for that. And then other businesses, because of Suzanne's question, like they might have said that their suppliers, even though they're Irish, they can't stock like Tipperary Water or Ballygowan, which is kind of ridiculous. So I'm working with them still. But going back to, I thought Suzanne brought up a lot of questions, a lot of things that I struggle with. And even today, the same guy in Clon said, I hope people won't be coming in here kind of attacking me that I have products, So I wouldn't personally like to be a part of a community that would encourage people to go into businesses and like put the finger down that they don't have, everything perfect, because it is a journey. And yeah, that's important. So I think Suzanne asked very good questions there.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Nia?
Yeah, just want to echo what the others said. Thanks so much for doing this, and particularly that clarity around the commitment to, rather than the absolute, because that's been for me a real stumbling block. I'm really struggling with getting clarity on that, and then not kind of moving forward, but like just all the kind of work that you've put into this, all the materials, and just the strategy of how to do it really simply is going to be really helpful. So thanks a million. Our group just wouldn't have the level of capacity that you guys have, so it'll, we kind of do our own version of that, I suppose, just with the limited capacity that we do have. Just in response to what I think it was Emma there was asking about, we were invited. We had a local women's business network here. And the woman who ran it is actually an apartheid-free zone, and so was encouraged us to come in to talk to the local businesses. But by the time we were invited in, the whole vibe had changed, and we were told that we couldn't present because it was too political, and that we could just sort of, go in there to network and approach businesses, which didn't feel appropriate because we weren't part of the business network and we'd never been in before. So it was something that we kind of tried, and then it was just uncomfortable and we didn't do it in the end. And I think the low-hanging fruit thing is kind of the way we've been going. It feels like it makes a lot more sense. And I suppose a couple of questions I just wanted to ask. Well, one of the things I was going to say was that one of our group members is an apartheid-free zone business herself, and that's been really helpful to approach other businesses. She is a business owner herself, quite well known in the town. has kind of encouraged other people to be curious. So I'd encourage that if you can possibly do that. The one thing that a lot of places and a lot of people struggle with the whole question of insurance. Everyone feels that, you look for insurers, and then no matter how hard you look, you'll always unearth one that you thought was okay, and in the end it isn't. And I suppose it's back to the thing that you clarified at the beginning. It's about a commitment to, or an intention to, but like how can you completely offer an alternative when I feel that we really can't be sure about any insurance company at this stage, to be honest. So I'm just curious about that. And then also, that when you showed the wee business cards there, you had the 729 barcode, and I was told maybe that that's not appropriate anymore, or not relevant anymore, or it's changed or something. So, but I'm not sure that, you hear so much stuff on the grapevine. So I'm just curious about that as well, please.
Neil, do you want to take that first question about what was
Sure.
Insurance?
Hang on, there was a lot of questions there.
Sorry, I probably waffled on there a bit too
no,
much.
The insurance.
The insurance.
or even
The insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Miriam has done a bit of research on this, and the cleanest one we know of, right, is FBD. Was there?
Yeah, so I did when I was putting together the alternative sheet, I emailed all of the insurance brokers in Cork to ask who their underwriter is, because ultimately when you're approaching different insurance people, you might say, oh, I'm going for, a local Cork crowd, but their underwriter could actually be AXA. So I approached all of them, and one of them was quite hostile getting back to me. Another few were just would not tell me. And then another few that did tell me, it ended up being, an insurance company that was AXA. And then again, depending on how deeply do you want to go into this, if you look at the Francesca Albanese report and things like that, they're all complicit. And then the next layer on top of that is that for businesses, for example, for their transit bans, for example, they're very limited on who will insure them, or for certain business insurances, they're very limited on who will insure them. So I think if there is one area where there's going to be a lot of leeway, it's going to be insurance. So it's going to be a case of, if you can in any way avoid AXA, do. If you can't, you can't. And unfortunately, with the way that insurance is set up, even if they try to be good and, go through like a local broker, for example, they might actually inadvertently be with AXA ultimately, because depending on who the underwriter is.
I think it's like with this clarity from Omar Bakuti as well, is like to just stay clear. Ultimately, it's priority targets, right? Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
you don't have to go into those things, but obviously, if you want to, you absolutely should, and you can. But when we're approaching businesses, we're not asking. It's not a foolproof strategy. We're not avoiding other bad guys. We're asking to avoid AXA, and that's kind of like, look, if you can do that, that's perfect. If you really want to go more in depth, then here are other options.
Okay.
So what do you have?
Insurance might be the one that is easier to be done by individuals than businesses.
Okay.
What was your second question? Sorry.
It was
Yeah.
just the 729 barcode on the back of the business card.
I remember there being confusion about that, and
Yeah.
still up on the IPSC website. I will double check it though. But I think there was like some confusion, like some saying that it wasn't it, but then there was more people saying no, they're just trying to confuse you. So I'll have a look again and make sure that's
okay. Thanks again, guys. Brilliant work. Thank you.
Egan, or is it the Dunleary? Is it Dunleary? Or sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah. Sorry about
Oh, that goes.
There's two laptops going here, closing out. Right. That's how we kind of roll down here. Okay, if only we'd met you 4 months ago, because we've been fumbling around trying to figure out how to do this for a good while now, and had none of this to go. We're really just working with the BDS site, which, it's fantastic to get some sort of sense of it, but in terms of the 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps in what you have put together there, it was very little of that. So we've made a lot of mistakes, but we pushed ahead regardless. What I'm interested in is a few things. One is the fact that you have, like ourselves, your councils backing BDS. The Dún Laoghaire Council has backed BDS, and that goes back as far as 2 years ago. But that really is where it ends. And I'm wondering if you have had any success with your councils in endorsing, supporting whatever's going on down there, or have they devised their own strategies in order to push it ahead? Because there's nothing happened here, and it would be great to know what you guys have been doing. Same with Wicklow as well. And the same with Wicklow. Sorry, Neve's from Wicklow here as well.
So yeah, they confirmed it last year. It was passed in 2022. Even before this, it was so it was a while ago. That was actually we had like good councillors on the city council. Now, as you probably have the same thing where it's like the executive is different from the actual council, so it's it's the administration who are really making the calls. It's not something that we currently, as our BDS group, is focused on. We're focused on businesses, but we have other people in the group who periodically check in, who have meetings with councillors, who find allies in the council and get them to raise another motion. I get them to ask about the ethical procurement. It's not something that we're like trying to get, like that we are actively doing. We use it mostly as a propaganda piece. The city is signed up to be apartheid free, and so is the county. And so then when we go to businesses, we have this like higher level, I guess what's the word, buy-in from like the council to say like, look, they think. Now they're boycotting HP, which is pretty much the only thing that they have moved on. I think maybe you find like what we did was we found one target on that BDS list and made sure that they were boycotting that, and then so now we've had success with that. So it was HB in our account where they have actually divested from HP. But it's really difficult with the councils because there is that 2-tier system, right? You have the actual administration and you have the council. So no matter what the council passed, sometimes they just ignore it. And that was the case until the recent onslaught, where now they felt a bit more under pressure to actually, to do it. So we don't have like that many lessons from that. Martin Shield actually would be the person to put you in contact with. He's in our group, so if you want to email us, then I can put you in contact, and he would be the best person to kind of ask, because he's been heading that for the last few years, really.
Much for that. The other thing I wanted to check in with you is, have you pursued, and I'll put this out to everybody as well within your own groups, alternative products list? Now I see from the sheets that you put up that the priority list you definitely have, but I think because we have we're associated with a group done for Palestine. There's over 200 people in it, and regularly people will say, I know this is not, this is showing up on the Boy Cat app or the No Thanks app, but I'd like an alternative. So we've been putting together alternative lists, and I'm just wondering, is there a possibility of setting up a database where we can all, pile in what we know, what we've studied? I think that would be a very useful tool. Now, the other thing, just to say quickly on the Boycott app, while the Boycott app and the No Thanks app are invaluable, I found that some of them are clearing products that shouldn't be cleared. When you do a deeper dive on them, you'll find more information. I'm not sure what's going on there, and I don't know if you have access to individuals that deal with the boycott app. I personally haven't been able to reach them to draw attention, although it offers that facility. It just doesn't work for me. I haven't been able to make it work. But I am curious as to why some products are being cleared to go when they really shouldn't be cleared to go.
Just on your first one, the database, absolutely. We sent out an email earlier today, I think it was, with a form to submit those alternatives, or if you have a whole sheet, then do, and we'll circulate them with everyone so that there is that we kind of have build up a database. That's excellent. Your second point, I don't know. I know that when it comes to apartheid free zone or the boycott, they tell us to use the website, and to focus on the priority, and that the apps are going a bit deeper than what they're asking when it comes to the apartheid free zone or even the boycott. That would maybe be a question for the IPSC.
I know it is a slightly different issue, but it's because, we have a network of people who are plugged in and want to do more than what's on the priority list and other obvious lists. And I think there's a lot of people out there. I get asked those questions all the time. I know this product isn't kosher. What should we be doing here? So, I think having all of those alternatives that we all network with, that would be really useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks so
I
much.
think in regards to the app, some of the issues is that the app gets confused between brands in different countries. So like Dove in the States is completely different to what Dove is in Europe. So it will get things confused, and it will sometimes call things as to be boycotted that shouldn't be. For example, myself and Sarah found out that Club Orange, which is an Irish brand, and I did a lot of kind of deep diving trying to figure out where is this link that the app is talking about, that didn't exist because it was conflicting, it was confusing it with Club in the States, which is owned by Kellogg. So it comes something completely different, just the same name. So with the apps as well, I think with Boycott, it has different tiers of how much you want to boycott. So you can have it set to priority, tier 2 or tier 3, which is where it will ban or will flag anything that is in any way connected. So for example, it will ban a drink if it shares a bottling plant with Coke, even if the product is not owned by Coke, whereas maybe the no thanks will not flag that, or vice versa. So that might be how it's giving you kind of a thumbs up for something that you know is wrong, or the other way around. But yeah, we don't, unfortunately. And I agree 100%. They're so hard to get in touch with. Yeah, myself and Sarah have tried.
And also Omar said, they don't endorse the no thanks app. They do endorse the boycott, and the priority is their kind of level 1 or whatever you said there, Miriam. So yeah. But I think Christina's right, go with website as opposed to, yeah.
I think what happened within our group is that the No Thanks app took off, gone back quite a while ago. And then we discovered numbers of months ago that actually BDS are endorsing the boycott. So we're using both. But we are highlighting the fact that it's boycott is BDS endorsed.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, listen, thanks so much for that. Appreciate everything you've been doing.
Noelle?
I was just asking, because I'm in the Macroom group, are we able to kind of link in with the Cork group then, in terms of, you were saying if you get a business signed up and you want to register them, would we feed it back to you, or would we need to have our own admin person to?
We could maybe collectivize that as well, but the Cork groups have been feeding into us, so I'll talk to you separately, and we'll discuss that with the Cork group so that it's lower.
Yeah, just so that everyone has to learn how to use this portal or whatever.
Yeah. Thanks. Kira?
Another part of this, and this strategy is and you've mentioned to Christina, is the BDS stall. And like having a BDS stall, which, member, a lot of people here are part of, and other people that aren't here, and would hold a stall every Saturday from 11 till 12 o'clock. So it's a table with a sign-up sheet, with stickers, with the cards like Christina had. And it's about really informing the public. And like what's important about informing the public, giving them the card or having a conversation with them, that it's about, creating awareness about this, that then they can go to, their pharmacy and then say, look, I know now the reasons why I don't want Teva, I don't want, a Teva product. They can go to their shop and go, I'm not buying Coca-Cola. And like an example of this, like, is for years, I'd be going into my local fruit and veg shop, which is recently closed down. And I would go in with these stickers into Con's Fruit and Veg. It used to be on Bandon Road. And he'd be like, okay, yeah. And I'd show him the stickers, and he'd allow me to sticker any Israeli products that would be on his fruit, on his shelves in his tiny little shop. But like the beauty of that is, because I was in, and other people weren't annoying him because we were aware, of BDS, that when he went to collect his produce in the morning at Keelings, which is a wholesaler that supplies fruit and veg to like hundreds and hundreds of shops around the country, he would go in and say, look, you've got Israeli carrots there. I don't want them. Give me the alternative. So because of one person being on the street talking to some members here, they might go into their fruit and veg shop, which I have been doing for years, telling him when he goes to Keelings not to buy the fruit and veg. And the more people that will start annoying him as a greengrocer, then he'll get more annoyed that he has to provide, say no to the Israeli fruit and veg in Keelings. And if there's more greengrocers going to Keelings saying, we don't want this produce, like that's part of this as well. I mean, it is kind of bigger, but like part of like this strategy here, I think, is the BDS stall and informing people, and businesses pass as well. Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight that, it's about kind of informing and empowering people really as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Kira. It was actually something Miriam had on the slides, but because in the interest of time,
and they just got longer and longer.
We just did want to focus on the apartheid-free zone because you don't necessarily need a BDS stall, but I definitely agree that like adding that public pressure with information and arming them with information is definitely helps to encourage, we'll use proactive words, businesses to do that. And you'd be surprised, in Cork, I know that so many people didn't know, or maybe even still don't know, the full boycott list. And it is being updated all the time. So even us, I turned around and I was like, oh my God, Xbox is on there. I didn't know that because I wasn't looking at the site. I had let it last. So yeah, that public knowledge is also great and can go, definitely should go hand in hand if people have capacity. But I guess we are talking to a lot of smaller groups here as well. And you can make big impact with the apartheid-free zone on its own versus the stall. But Kira, the stall is excellent too.
Yeah.
Thibault? Laura? Thibault?
He disappeared.
Thibault?
There he is.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. I with Cork BDS and Miriam, Chris, Niall, Soph and Sarah. Just kind of more technical question when approaching the actual business itself, manager and owners, and then you're talking to staff and you request to see the manager or the owner. If they either ask what it's for, like kind of how deep do you go into the pitch, or do you go kind of into it all, what's the kind of interaction with the staff itself if they're in there, and particularly if you can see that the staff at least are supportive. Like in one food place, Pizza Daddy, guy was wearing cool kind of T-shirt with like the Bangladesh flag and the Palestine flag. So what's the kind of that part of the approaching the business where you're not talking to the owner or the manager, it's the staff. You say you want to speak to the owner manager. If they ask more, how much information you give, and then every subsequent meetup, if it requires multiple visits, do you always try to arrange a specific date and time with the manager or the owner, where the only kind of unprompted visit is that first one?
Yeah, it's good. It's a good question. I'll take it. I will give I'm happy to give a quick pitch to the to to a staff member about what I'm here for. Who I am. Introduce myself. I'm from CSPC, and we're working on this initiative. And very briefly introduce apartheid-free zones and say that I'd love to speak to your manager about it. I'm not going to start getting into handing them and talking about individual, what does it mean for this business and individual brands and that kind of thing. But I will I'm happy to do a quick pitch and then say I'd like to if leave some information and my details as well, and like ultimately as regards whether you call in again, you arrange a specific time or you get details, to contact them or they contact you back. It's really playing it by ear at that point, right? It's whatever whatever works, right? If they'll give you contact details and you can get in touch, then brilliant. If they're not happy to do that, but they say, I've had some businesses say, oh, I think they'll be in next Saturday, so I'll pop in next Saturday. And I've had some businesses that I've had to pop in 2 or 3 times trying to catch the people, and over the course of that, I got a name that I was able to eventually track down on Facebook and reach out to. So really, how you deal with it when the manager's not there, past how you get to actually speak to them. It's really played by ear and see how you go, whatever works.
I'll just also add to that, and I'll answer Niamh's comment as well. That's the thing. Like it is good to have the staff on site, but it's not. Ultimately, it's the owner who will make that decision. So you really need to talk to them. You could have really enthusiastic staff, and then the owner is just like no. So if there's a good relationship there, so it's always good to inform the staff. But then we've had a situation where the staff have not been, have been really aggressive, but the owner has been fine. So at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to the owner. Also, like just hilariously, like the McDonald's were complaining to us about something, and they were like, "We have Palestinians working for us." So, like, holy, like people. These owners, they're either on site or they're not, or they're movable. They're either not on site or they are, or they're movable. And so you have to the staff sometimes have no power in any of these organizations. So then there's any tips on getting abuse from small business owners. We had a very gung ho member who didn't focus on low-hanging watermelons and went into one business, and the owner revealed himself as a well-heeled racist and ran her out. I think that I think just for more, like there's also another reason why we focus on low hanging watermelons, and that is it's good for morale and it's a good movement builder. Like you want to get those easy wins because you create an environment and a culture. With this person just sounds like he's a racist, like and so people have to be I guess like consider safety when they're going out, but that guy sounds like he's just that he attacked her essentially. You can't really prepare for that if you're getting that kind of reaction from these people. But I guess that's also why you should try to go after the easier targets, because they you add to your movement before you're approaching these more strong-headed people or immovable people. Michelle? Oh, you're on mute, Michelle.
Sorry, I'm full of a dose too. That's why I'm off camera and on mute. But so look, guys, just thank you so much. There's so much really great information being shared. And I suppose myself, just within Teachers for Palestine, we've had quite a number of schools, and just in the context of what you're saying, I just thought it'd be worth giving a shout out in relation to schools becoming apartheid-free zones. You know, the INTO is actually an apartheid-free zone. That's the Irish National Teachers Organisation. So I think it would be very helpful. Like, as a teacher, we're quite limited sometimes to what we can do within our schools. So even though I'm very active myself, we've had 2 grassroots events, the Stand Out for Gaza Days, and this Friday, tomorrow, we have the ICTU, Workplace Day of Action. And principal, this is just an example, like in my school, but she basically had said to the rep in our school, look, anything about Palestine, it stays inside the classroom. So there'll be no video of us outside with our placards, but she's allowing a kind of little talk presentation, whatever, within the staff room. So I knew the opportunity would come at some point, and I think a lot of very positive points have been made about relationships and building relationships. And I know with businesses that have come on board with us, it has been building that relationship piece. And sometimes I suppose, we can be very triggered by the responses we get. But to remember that, like, you mentioned, I'm thinking of a chemist where, like, when I buy anywhere, I'll say, oh, is it a Teva product? And in one particular chemist, she said, oh, no, we're getting rid of all of those. At which point I said, can I chat to the pharmacist? And I just noticed a difference between down the country, Tipperary, where I'm from, and where I work in Dublin. And like that, she didn't want to go public on it because she didn't want to be shaming or blaming, other pharmacists. And yet she'd organised a huge amount of nebulizers, etc., to go to Gaza. So, but it's just, I suppose, you've hit on a lot of points, and I love the phrase, the low-hanging fruit, the low-hanging watermelons, and building the movement. And I think for anyone here that's a parent, you have a very strong voice. I'm coming back to schools again. You have a really strong voice. And if parents come together and approach a school, there is an obligation on them. And, we should be ethically procuring products that and services that, and it's something like your insurance, your IT, all of that, and understanding that piece around being a commitment. Like, they're still so conservative in schools. But at the INTO, just to come back to it, and then the Teachers Union of Ireland, both of those are on board. So it might be something that you guys could look at too. And I'm just giving a shout out for it, really. And yeah, we organised a webinar last year and had a whole piece around for teachers, to try and get them to get their schools to commit to being a apartheid-free zone. So sorry, went on a bit long there, but hope I got the point across. Yeah.
I think also, Michelle, like, we are really at the beginning of this now. So, like, if there are strategy, it would be helpful for you to, like, document what you're doing and the wins you get, or like we're going to have to take different approaches to different, like, that's why this approach is for local businesses. But
yeah,
like, as the other members said there about, local councils, like, how do you do that? It's a different strategy. So we are all developing these ourselves, which is and it's all locally dependent. It's dependent on all of these different factors. So,
yeah. But I think the principles are the same. Like, a lot of, there's so much content, there's so many things I learned tonight, and there's so much content even in your approach, that I realized, what we need to, even within Teachers for Palestine, people have been doing it within their own schools as a response to certain work we've been doing, but we haven't really organized it. And I think the way the pack, and there's so many pieces that I think we could do if we make it easier for people, and yeah, so thanks for everything. Yeah, so good. But I'm just mentioning it, how important student voice is, especially in senior, like 4th, 5th, 6th class. And and parents your voice. So that would really support us in our work. So thanks, guys. Great presentation and work. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michelle. Ciara, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, very quickly, I'd like to respond to what Michelle said, just regarding schools. So in the last month, I carried out two, I'm laughing, sorry. I carried out 2 workshops in schools on Palestine, one on Palestine and history, one on Palestine and climate change. And I was told in one of them that I was asked by a person not to mention the word boycott.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was asked to not to mention the word boycott, and I was like, grand, yeah. And the reason why it is because a lot of the parents of the kids in the school, their parents work for large multinational companies. So I just kind of, I said, yeah, whatever. Like, anyway, by the end of the workshop, 300 kids, they all understood what the word boycott meant.
Well done, you. But that's an Irish history lesson, like it came part of our story.
And I was told then by the person who invited us, I'm actually glad you said it in the end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of work has to be done in schools, but there's 300 kids now, that were informed of the word boycott and what boycott means regarding Palestine. Yeah.
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 And you know what? The kids are the easy bit. Like, I mean, I teach in a junior school now. And, the whole fact here that, they talked about, our principal was afraid of the children. I just said to them very simply what was going on. It's like, your new pencil case is in September. If I want your nice fluffy pencil case, I can't take it. So in the grown-up world, it's the same. We have rules and you can't just go in and take the country. That's what's going on. Full stop. It was age appropriate and they get it.
Yeah.
The adults are the problem. But we have to keep speaking out. Anyway, thanks, Ciara. Well done, you.
What Ciara's highlighted, I guess, and is applicable universally, is that you take the opportunity that you have in front of you, and then get in the door, and then push further. And I guess that's kind of what the Apartheid Free Zone initiative is. Get in the door. And then once you're in and you've set a bar, then you can push once, further and further. So yeah. Are there any more questions now? We're coming up on 2 hours, so I think there's a lot of people starting to get tired of dropping off. But
could I just ask Ciara where she works? Sorry, just to pop in there again. Ciara, who do you work? Do you work for an organization or are you just something you do yourself?
Cork Palestine Solidarity Campaign.
All right, good one. The pay is good with them, I hear.
Yeah. Well, unpaid, yeah.
Okay, thanks so much.
I think that people are having a bit of trouble getting into the folder, so I will link that again via email, and I'll send the recording. And I think Miriam, you're going to share your slides as well. Will you?
My slides?
The presentation.
Oh yes, sorry. I was like, was I supposed to put something else together?
Oh no.
Minor heart attack. Yes, absolutely.
We'll share them properly in a folder. I did want to ask, those people have dropped off now, but for the smaller groups, and I have to run this by the committee, but I'm sure it'll be grand, that we can help support smaller groups print materials if they need it. There's also, if you don't know how to update these materials, then send us an email. It might take us a little time to get back to ye, but we can always put your logo and your information on these. It's a simple enough job and send it back to you. So if it's a skill issue or if it's like a money issue, like we can help, Cork Palestine Solidarity can help support because we get a great deal. We have a really great printer here that does thousands and thousands and thousands for very little. So let us, I'll send a follow-up email anyway, and people can get in touch if they want any of that to available, any of those opportunities. I guess that's it. Miriam, did you want to say anything else?
No, I think we've covered everything. I hope.
Yeah, thanks so much to everyone for coming and participating, for Neil and Miriam for being an excellent host, for Soph and Sarah and Joe and everyone who's doing help put the strategy together. It's really been a lot of teamwork. So
Thanks, everyone. That was amazing. Cheers.
Thanks all.
Toodles.
Have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.
You are.
Bye. 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 I'll just keep it up. I've taken down that email anyway for you, Kira.
Oh, brilliant. That's what I was just checking before I log off. I privately messaged her there just to see, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he was in public, but that's okay.
Oh shit, sorry. Oh well, yeah. It was all good anyway, nothing bad, yeah. Well done. Amazing. That was brilliant.
You're
Yeah.
wonderful. Thanks.
That's fabulous.
Okay, I'll leave you
So
alone
sleepy.
there.
Thanks.
Yeah.